Hello 7th grade, how are you today? In this video we will talk about Mr. Duffy and his description in the eyes of George and how he seemed to George and describe the present of Sally. There are two striking things in Mr. Duffy according to George. What are they? They are one, that he was extremely tall. The other thing is that he was extremely thin. Striking, we said, means drawing attention, يعني لافت للانتباه. These are the two things that drew the attention of George. طيب, why does that surprise George? George always was surprised by these two things. Why? Because George always was smelling something delicious cooking on the stove. So he imagines that Mr. Duffy always is eating. طيب, he wondered how Mr. Duffy stayed so thin when so much tasty food was produced from Mrs. Duffy's kitchen. Mrs. Duffy, of course, always cooks for the home and for Mr. Duffy, but he is still thin and tall. Now, when Mr. Duffy saw George, what did he say or what did he do? Let's see. Mr. Duffy peered at George over the rims of his glasses. So what was Mr. Duffy wearing? He was wearing glasses. Can you see here in the picture? He was wearing glasses. What else? What was he wearing? Let's see. Here we will start describing the appearance of Mr. Duffy. Who can describe the appearance of Mr. Duffy from the picture? What can you see in his appearance? Excellent. He had a large nose above a pointed chin. Here is his nose and his pointed chin and a broad forehead. A broad يعني wide forehead. جبين عريض. With thick dark eyebrow. Here are his eyebrows. طيب, his short graying hair stood straight up from his head. Here we are describing his hair. It's gray and it stood up from his head. طيب, what did George simulate Mr. Duffy with, or what did he compare him with? يعني بإيش شبهه? Here he is comparing him with an old bird or a wise old bird. بشبهه جورج بطائر حكيم وكبير بالسن. هيك بشوفه جورج. طيب, what does he have also? What does Mr. Duffy have? He has sharp-eyed, and he is sharp-eyed and thoughtful. So his looks or his eyes are sharp. عنده نظرات حادة and he is thoughtful. George describes him like this, or the writer describes him with the adjective thoughtful and sharp-eyed. يعني مفكر, وقور, wise man, like this. طيب, let's see again what Mr. Duffy wears in his workshop. We said he wears glasses. He wears glasses, and also he wears what? An apron, a long blue apron. طيب, what does the apron make Mr. Duffy look like? The apron made him look even taller and thinner. يعني فوق ما هو طويل وضعيف, برضو هذا البلو long apron اللي بلبسه بيبينه إنه أطول وأضعف كمان. طيب, what does Mr. Duffy have in his pocket? في جيبته إيش في محطوط بجيبة الأبرون? In the pocket was a short pencil which he sharpened from time to time with a tiny pen knife. بيبري عنده قلم بيبري بpen knife اللي هي سكين خاصة بالأقلام لبري الأقلام. Can you see here we have many adjectives. Can you find the adjectives in this text? We described Mr. Duffy, his appearance and his personality with many adjectives. Here we describe his hair with graying, short, and we describe his chin with pointed, his nose, we describe it with the adjective large, broad forehead or forehead, we can pronounce it in the two pronunciations. And here we describes him with wise, old, he has dark eyebrows and thick eyebrows. We have here many adjectives describing Mr. Duffy or Mr. Duffy's appearance and personality. Let's move to this paragraph. Here, when George or Mr. Duffy sees George, he welcomes him. Hello, George. And George replies to him, hello, Mr. Duffy. Now, Mr. Duffy beckoned يعني called دعا أو نادى George to a table against one wall. Let's now see what's there on the table. There are more than one thing. What can you see here on the tables? There are some things mentioned in the text. We can't see them here. Let's see what are on the table. There are two things I think. We have here Mr. Duffy put finished pieces of work. عنده أعمال هو اشتغلها بالوركشوب تبعيته معمولة وجاهزة ومخلصها وحاطتها on the table. He put it or put them on the table. What else? There was a large polished box made of gold colored wood. في عنا box. He describes him, the writer describes him with large and polished box. What is the box made of? It's made of gold colored wood. It's made of wood and the wood is gold. What else are on the table? A small round table with intricately curved legs. في عنا إذن 3 things on the table. Beside the table we have something important. What is beside the table, do you think? Can you find the answer? Bravo. Here it was a small wooden boat. طيب whose boat is it? It's the present of Sally. Excellent. And here is the picture of the boat. It's made of wood and it has inside it some people. What's the work of these people? What are they? They are sailors. Excellent. So here is a description of Sally's boat or Sally's present, which is a boat, and what are inside the boat. Let's see the description of the boat. Across the middle of the boat were 3 little benches. في عنا benches يعني like chairs here. How many benches are there in the box? In the boat, sorry. There are 3 little benches. 1, 2, 3. What are above the benches, or who are sitting above or on the benches? في عنا each bench had 3 holes. أول إشي في عنا 3 holes، فتحات لكل bench فيه 3 فتحات. طيب in each hole was a small round wooden sailor with a blue body, a round head and tiny sailor hat. Can you see the sailors here? What are they wearing? They are wearing, their bodies are blue. Their heads are what? Their heads are round and they have tiny hats. They are wearing tiny hats on their heads. طيب are they standing or sitting on the benches? Can you see here in the picture? What do you think? They look as they are sitting on the benches. In each They looked as though they were sitting on the benches. Mr. Duffy lifted out one of the sailors and showed it to George. Here is one of the sailors here. Mr. Duffy took it and showed it to whom? To George. Yes. He explained the appearance of the sailors, and this sailor is especially for George. The sailor had dark hair. Can you see? They all have or had dark hair. Rosy cheeks and a curly mustache. اللي هم الشوارب وخدود روزي مزهرة. He was winking in a very cheeky fashion. This one especially was winking. Can you see here in the picture? Each one of the sailors has his own style or his own appearance. This one was winking يعني يغمز. طيب George laughed. Did he like them, do you think? Yes, George liked the sailors and liked the boat very much, so he laughed. ضحك عليهم. He looked at the other sailors. He looked at the other sailors here on the boat. Were they all the same? Were the sailors all the same? No, they were not the same. They were different. All their faces were different. Some, can you describe them? Yes, bravo. Some were old and some were young. بعضهم بينين كبار بالعمر بعضهم شباب صغار, but they all looked friendly and cheerful. Friendly and cheerful. Friendly here ends with ly, but it isn't an adverb, it's an adjective. Friendly and cheerful. George grinned at Mr. Duffy. Sally's really going to love this, he said. So George loved the boat, the present of Sally, and he guesses that Sally will love it too.